What's up YouTube, Z Bowman here with a brand new series on how to improve in Apex Legends. If you follow this series, I guarantee that you will see an improvement in your gameplay no matter what your skill level. So without further ado, let's jump into the video.
Tip number 1. Guns.
Figure out what guns you're comfortable with and be sure to practice, practice, practice. It's important to figure out what works for you and what style you like. Personally, I don't really like sniping as it leaves you open to third parties, but people like RoboHobo, aka the Sentinel King, have made that gun work. I am also a fan of the triple take as it can kind of double for a shotgun in those close range fights. But you gotta find what works for you. I would be comfortable saying there are no bad guns in Apex, just different guns that work better with different playstyles. For beginners, I would say the number one gun you should try out is the R301 carbine. It has very good recoil control that's very easy to learn. It has a good magazine size, a good fire rate, and good damage. And it's also useful in close and mid-range combat. So you can pretty much use it anywhere, especially if you're able to fit it with an anvil receiver. But the best thing that you can do is go to the firing range and just try out all of the guns. See what works for you, what fits your playstyle, and take some time to figure that out. If you practice enough, you'll be able to use all of the guns efficiently, and you will improve. And this brings us to our next tip.
Number 2. Movement.
Apex Legends has some of the best movement mechanics of any BR that I've ever played, and it goes without saying that you need to be doing everything you can to stay out of your opponent's crosshairs. The best way to do that is to practice strafing. This is easily done while you practice your aiming, which I do every day before I play, especially if I'm going to be playing ranked. I notice that my aim is much more consistent and my movement more fluid when I take time to warm up these skills in the firing range. Also, be sure to practice some of the more advanced mechanics in the game, like wall jumping. This is very easily done by running at an angle towards a flat surface, sliding with crouch, jumping, and releasing all movement keys or buttons if you're on controller, and then pressing jump as you make contact with the wall. The best piece of advice I ever got for movement that really helped me step up my game was you need to pretend that you're in the Matrix. You don't need to focus nearly as hard on hitting your shots, but focus much harder on dodging bullets and having good positioning. As you play the game, your gun skill will improve on its own, but getting used to dodging and using good positioning and movement early on will help you out a lot in the long run. Speaking of positioning, that brings us to our next tip.
Number 3. Positioning.
Of all the tips in this video, I would say that this is the most important. You can have the gun skill of a Predator player, you can wall jump and bunny hop on command, but if you have poor positioning, you're still going to lose a lot of fights. This tip is not one that you can practice, but it comes with time. If you get it into your head early how important this is, it will help you have a much higher win rate in your 1v1 and even 1v2 fights. The skill comes with time, and yeah, you guessed it, more practice. I keep touching on that, don't I? Making sure that you're behind cover and out in the open as little as possible is crucial to defeating your opponents in gunfights. If you have a mobile character, make sure you're using your mobility to your advantage to take high ground and better places away from opponents. Also make sure you don't leave your teammates behind and help secure them a way out with your extra mobility or by being a distraction with your escape. You also need to train yourself to become aware of your surroundings, which brings us to tip number 4.
Number 4. Awareness.
If you are absolutely sick of getting 3rd, 4th, and 5th partied by other squads, take some time to think about how you approach the game in a broader sense. You dropping in the middle of the map, leaving yourself open to being pushed from any side? Do you often take fights from range, using snipers like I talked about previously in tip 1? Whenever I'm rotating and I hear gunshots, I rush towards the action, and so do a lot of other people. Taking fights from range or poking people out, while you may feel safe at first, will often be leading other squads right to your position. And now you're stuck between two, the squad you've been poking at with your sniper and the new squad that's out for blood. Both squads will take advantage of this opportunity. Also try to get into the habit of watching people around you when you drop, so you can see how many squads are nearby.
Number 5. Practice fighting.
I've said it enough that hopefully it's stuck by now, but you need to practice to improve, just like anything else in life. The worst thing that you can do for yourself is to drop far away from people, loot for 15 minutes, and then die to a squad with better loot and shields, because while you've been looting, they've been getting kills and looting death boxes. If you drop hot, at least into a few other squads, you'll get used to dropping better, because you'll want to get there first, but you also get used to loot placement, and what you need as a bare minimum to get into the action. I usually try to find a gun and some shields to start, and then go right in. If you practice doing this, It may not go well for you at first, but as you keep hot dropping and fighting at a loot and gun disadvantage, you'll see a massive improvement on all of these other skills that we've talked about. These skills don't happen overnight, and you'll have a lot of games that you lose. But if you keep practicing these tips that we've talked about, and you keep trying and you keep dropping hot, and getting into those fights and getting that gun skill built up, you will improve. But you just have to keep trying and do your best. Believe in you, I love you, you've got this.